All right, everyone, thanks for jumping on. Head coach Ben Olsen here. Ben, start of Texas Derby up in Dallas this weekend, and followed by another Texas match next week. But how's the team prepared since the midweek victory at home?
Well, it's nice to get 3 points, but a quick turnaround to go up to Dallas. Let me start by saying I think it's ridiculous that we have a league game, and they don't on a Derby game. And this is the second year in a row that we've had this. We had this going into Austin as well last year, and I don't understand why it's Houston as the team that has this issue. I don't know if that happens to other teams or LAFC but it's 2 years in a row. I can live with it one. So saying that, that means we got to continue to rely on our depth. And we're looking forward to the challenge. They came in here and got some points here, and we certainly remember that, and looking forward to getting up there and hopefully putting a really good performance on and trying to get the points back.
Thanks for that. Sorry, Luis.
Coach, I think you could say that it probably hasn't been the start or the way the season has gone so far that you would have wanted. But when you do look at the schedule, you look at the losses, they happened very early in the season. It was mostly in March, and then now coming into May, you're seeing more wins, some draws and stuff. How do you feel that the team is in what shape it is right now, and is that kind of a sign of progression and the team is heading in the right direction?
I think that's what you look for as a coach in a season. It's going to have its ups and downs, and in particular when there's a bunch of changes within your group, and some of those happen very late, and we didn't necessarily replace some of those guys. So this was always going to be a kind of a slow burn, and so as long as there's progress and we feel like we're moving in the right direction from a result standpoint, but also process and kind of from an identity. So I love that word, but as far as figuring out kind of who we are and how we're going to be most effective and win games, I can live with that. I've said we've been in transition for a while. We've had injuries all throughout the year. We've had suspensions throughout the year. We've had, and now we're kind of been transitioning before the summer window, a little bit late in between the winter and summer, with a bunch of new players that are coming in and guys coming back from injuries. Long-term injuries. So it's this. So we will have some bodies. We have some new bodies, but there's transitional cost with that. There's some youth that we've relied on, which comes at times at cost for their growth. So again, saying all that, we're improving and moving forward. And as you said, the results have gotten better as we've gone through this season.
You talk about youth and maybe relying on them sometimes. Also figuring out the way to win. You saw it in this last game. Two guys that make their first career starts in the MLS and they score goals. Is that kind of what figuring out the way to win?
Yeah.
Have you guys figured it out?
Pablo's not fully fit, and Felipe's been with D2, and so these guys come in and. You give them a little bit of a crash course on who we are and some of the basics of our game model and what the expectations are. But they got to get out there and they got to go through it. And I thought that both of them did very well the other night and took their opportunity, right? And so that is what we're looking for in some of these guys that are coming, whether it's back from injury or coming from down south or overseas, that are adding into our group. It's the more competition we add right now, the better. And I say at the end of May, we're going to have a pretty good idea who we are and who that best group is. But everybody's going to get minutes because the schedule's so packed. And that's a healthy thing if you can continue to pick up points.
All right, we'll go to Zoom. Questions on there. Dustin, go ahead.
Hey, Ben, how are you?
Dustin?
Hey, looking at some of the stats to see Jack McGlynn's right up there in the league in shot creating actions. It seems like he's been on the ball a lot more lately. Is that Jack being comfortable in the way you guys play? Is that the coaching staff making him more aware of that? Just what do you see there?
It's mostly just all coaching staff. No, the reason we moved Jack up, one of the major reasons we moved him up into, kind of that 10 role was so he could get closer to the action. He's final balls, high quality. We know he's got, shooting ability, and and he's good in possession. He's good at getting off the line and switching the point of attack. So it's a good spot for him right now, and I think he's enjoying it, being closer to goal, and still working with him to be a two-way player and figure out the moments that really matter in transition and all those little things to get him better and to get him to reach his goals. And that's being a high-level 10 or a high-level player in this league. And then, who knows, be with the national team or abroad one day.
Ben, we saw Dwayne Holmes on the bench last game. I know you said he wasn't ready. He was just an able body, but how is he coming along, and where do you see him fitting in, in that front line once he is ready to go?
He's day to day, and we're just watching him train and seeing where he's at, and when he's ready, he'll be ready. But it should be fairly soon, as he's full out training. There's no restrictions. It's just about him finding some fitness, some rhythm, and being at a level where we feel comfortable putting him into a game. Anali is we're starting to see him more and more in some action, not fully full action yet, but he's getting closer and closer. So it's exciting to get kind of new blood in here. And as I said, we're going to get every week for the last month, it's going to be a new player coming through. Challenging for coaching staff and the team to incorporate them, but also an exciting part of the season.
Thanks, Ben.
Diego, go ahead.
Hey, man.
Diego.
Talk to me a little about the relationship that you guys have between sending players from D2 to the first team. On the defensive side, you guys started off with Mika, and now another player that's really been stepping up lately is Felipe Andrade, who has made that leap. Can you talk a little bit about overall your feelings about the transition between D2 and Dynamo and the first team, and how you envision that?
First, the relationship from the day I got here was a very good one with Kenny and the D2 situation here. Our offices are right next door. The fields are over there, and the collaboration has been wonderful. I know it's not always like that in some places. Some of that's proximity of where their other team is, but this atmosphere fosters, I think, collaboration, and it's important to Pat and Asher as well. And it's part of it's by design. These players are, in some ways we're getting players that are too good for D2, and they're showing their quality in those games with the idea of them being on the first team. So it's a good situation. The goalkeeper right now is a good example. He's been doing great and probably a little bit high for the level of D2. So Felipe showed that he was above that league in some ways. And that's what this is about. You have to go to D2 and show that you are one of the best players on that field, if not the best player on the field, because that level is not MLS. And so it's, again, some of it's design, some of it's development. Marcelo's been great, our collaboration and relationship there. He came to preseason with us. So he could really understand who we were and mimic that as best he can down with D2. So we're doing similar game models and similar principles. So it's a healthy thing, and it's nice to see these guys graduate. It also is great for our youth kids to see that there's a pathway for them to end up being on the first team.
And you mentioned that Pablo Ortiz has, I don't remember whether you said has a knot or just he has played a lot of minutes at least in a short amount of time. Where do you see him play a role in the team's defense when it comes to containing a player like Musa, which is a very strong physical attacker in blocks.
Well, he's played minutes, and yeah, he's certainly not a 90-minute fit guy, but he played 45 right in the Open Cup, and I think he played 65, 70 in the last game. So we're building his fitness, and that's important to do because he's been a little bit out of practice with the visa situation. Moose is a very good player. We expect him to be in the lineup. He seems healthy and good size, good feet, able to hold the game up. Clever runner in behind. Has a nice relationship with Lucho. A little bit of a 1-2 punch there, and so it's a difficult. He's a difficult guy to go around against because he's very well rounded. He doesn't have. He's a few different dimensions to his game, and I think they've missed him over the last couple of weeks, and I think they'll probably be happy to get him back.
Thanks, man.
All right, Jorge, you go ahead.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Coach, you mentioned, it's really not fair that one team doesn't play midweek, but do you believe it was a good game to build off that momentum going into this derby?
Is a win, so it helps, but I don't know if it's winning on Wednesday is relative to this game. It's going to be a whole different animal, and we're away against a rested opponent, so it'll be a difficult task. But again, one I know these guys are looking forward to, and it just means we have to. Continue to rely on our depth. And we always knew this. This isn't a surprise that we were going to have the Wednesday, Saturdays games. I just go back to, and 1 year I can handle. I don't understand why we're doing it 2 years in a row. That's the only issue I have. If we're, the one team that, for rivalry week, that they continue to talk about and how important it is, and then we have a Wednesday game and they don't. I don't know. 2 years in a row, don't get it.
And then we've talked about it a bit right through the last couple of games, but now you have Pablo Ortiz, Felipe Andrade. You got a congested defense, but how much of a good thing is that for you?
Competition's good anywhere around the field, and as I said, we're going to have enough games to see what everybody looks like. And I think at the end of May, we're going to have a really good feel for, who's rising to the top, what our depth is, and I think we'll be better for it. But it's nice to have those two in the mix and competing.